In Pit Lane is brought to you by Nick Star Racing. Support Nick Shembry in his campaign to the 2019 British Supercar Grand Prix. Be a part of the future. And with thanks to the following show supporters. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. Joining me tonight is, well, I've got some assistants tonight with Craig, Doc, glad to go. Craig is alongside for what is a very special edition of In Pit Lane. We're going to be joined in just a moment. You might have seen a sneak preview going through by a special guest tonight, Clay Richards, third generation racer, and we'll be talking with Clay a little bit later on in the program. As I said, this is not a usual edition of In Pit Lane, and the reason Craig is with me tonight is basically to sort of, to hold my hand and tag team, do the hot tag and come in should I sort of fall apart from this. As you saw at the opening of the show, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of Melissa McCormick. Melissa was the co-producer of this show for many, many years. She's the reason that In Pit Lane existed all right throughout these 23 years. She was the National Motorsport Editor of Australian Auto Action. She was the production editor of carpoint.com. She was a leading motoring journalist of her in her own right. More importantly, she was my best and closest friend for the last 20 years. Unfortunately, we lost Melissa last Thursday, and as you can obviously tell, I'm completely devastated. But I promised Melissa that if anything like this ever happened, that we would come back. She always used to say to me, whenever the struggle got too much, and I said, I'm going to give it away. She said, no. She said, TV Land demands it, darling. And I went, TV Land couldn't give us stuff, sweetheart. And she went, darling, I'm TV Land. Please do it for me. So I hope TV Land enjoys tonight's program. Now, Doc took me by the hand and dragged my carcass down to Phillip Island on Sunday for the Victorian State Championship, and that's going to start off our look around the world of motorsport on the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Large fields and great racing were the antidote for some windy winter-style weather at Phillip Island last weekend for round 2 of the Victorian State Championships. Another impressive field of sports sedans as the 2-litre brigade and the Nissan Pulsars fleshed out the field to a healthy 24 cars for Sunday's final. Dean Cam in the Corvette led all the way, but Francois Habib in the ex-Jason Richards supercar pressured the American Trans Am all the way. Terry Hamilton has his big red Commodore up for sale and advertised it the best way possible in holding out the rotary pairings of Bruce Henley and Graham Gilliland to take third. Ian McDougall was well out in front in the under 2-litre cars as Steve Howard's Corolla and the Gemini of Shane Brown tried to hold off the fire-breathing Mini of Craig Linsell. Lee Nuttall was out in front of the Nissan Pulsar brigade ahead of the battling back of Pepper, Stevens and Hamilton. Habib pressured Cam out front, but a mistake at the corner, formerly known as Honda, ended his challenge for the lead. McDougall had looked set to take out his third win in the under 2-litre category until a tyre failure into Southern Loop handed the victory to the fire-breathing Mini of Linsell. Howard's Corolla was second, ahead of the Brown Gemini. McDougall was classified 13th overall, which was just enough to give him the overall win for the weekend.
Been a really good weekend up until about the last 3 kilometres. So led pretty much every lap for the under 2 litres and won both the first 2 races, and then led every lap except the one that counts in the last race. Kind of hit all my marks into turn 2, and the thing just kept going straight. Came in and found out we've got both front tyres down to the canvas, which in a front wheel drive car is never ideal. So that sort of put a hamper on it. Went through the grass, through the gravel, got some nice scenery, and came back on, I think, in about 4th place or something, but still could have been a whole lot worse. So in the scheme of things, it's all just cosmetic to fix.
Lee Nuttall capped off a perfect weekend to win the Pulsar Challenge ahead of Brett Stevens, Rob Pepper and Ben Hamilton. It was back to the future in the HQs, with one of the best fields in quite some time turning out for the annual Dallas Crane Memorial Race. Andrew McLeod won all 3 races to take the title from John Wise and Andrew Magilton. Despite a national Formula Ford Series round in Queensland, there was still a healthy turnout of fast cars for the state title. Spencer Ackerman and recent guest on In Pit Lane, Ben Dahlia, fought it out all weekend, with Ackerman coming out on top with 2 wins to 1 after an entertaining 3 races. In the Formula Ford 1600 Kent Engine division, Brendan Jones celebrated 200 race starts with Spectrum with a narrow win over John Connolly in the final race to take the weekend. The 944s also returned to the series with big numbers, and it was a clean sweep to Cameron Bella over Lyndon Watson and Ansley Westerway. And the Ford Mustang domination of local racing has spread to the historic touring cars, as Michael Michelli led home Darrell Hanson in another 1-2 for Ford's pony car. The next round of the Victorian State Championships will be the series' only visit to Winton on June 15 and 16. Bring the winter woolies. If beating Toyota in the World Endurance Championship isn't hard enough, how's about having to deal with snow? Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima have all but wrapped up the world title after winning a weather-affected 6 hours of Spa. They won by a lap over Rebellion Racing's Gustavo Menez, Thomas Laurent and Nathaniel Berthan after the number 7 Toyota of Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi and Jose Maria Lopez suffered a brake sensor failure late in the race. Pastor Maldonado led home a Dragon Speed win for the 31 car in LMP2. Once again, the battle of the day was in GTE Pro, with Aston Martin Racing's 97 Vantage just holding out the AF Corsa Ferrari for the win. And Aussie Matthew Campbell, along with Christian Reed and Ricardo Pereira, won the GTE AM class by over 5 seconds in their Dempsey Proton Porsche 911 RSR. More rain, this time at Hockenheim for round 1 of the new look DTM. With more power and less downforce, conditions for the new cars were less than ideal. Marco Wittmann made a great start in the first race and took the checkered flag to give BMW the first win of the new 2-litre turbo era. Timo Glock was the luckiest man in the race after being turned around by Rene Rast at turn 1. The BMW ended up facing the right way and somehow nobody else touched him. Conditions improved for Sunday's race, with Rene Rast giving Audi their opening victory of the new era thanks to a risky but inspired 2-stop strategy that jumped the Audi from 16th place on the grid through to the win and an Audi 1-2-3. Yet more rain, but it's Mount Fuji, would you expect anything else? The Fuji 500 round 2 of the Super GT Championships saw victory to the Lexus of Yuji Tashikawa and Hiroaki Ashura. Nissan's Ronnie Quintarelli and Sugo Matsuda were second ahead of defending champions Naoki Yamamoto and Jensen Button in the Honda NSX. And in NHRA drag racing, defending world champion Steve Torrens rolled into his second straight victory on Sunday with a win at the 39th annual NHRA Southern Nationals at Atlanta Dragway. Torrens defeated Brittany Force in the final round. In funny car, Ron Cap secured his first win of the season with a whole-shot win against Tim Wilkerson. And 5-time Pro Stock Motorcycle world champion Andrew Hines earned his second straight victory on the trot in his Screaming Eagle Vance and Hines Harley-Davidson to defeat Jerry Savoy in the final. And, of course, normally we would have NASCAR news, but the race at Dover was rained out until yesterday. We might well have some footage of that. It was just too late to get into tonight's news, but we'll bring you, of course, all the NASCAR news on next week's program. Right now, we're going to take a break on Channel 31. When we come back, we'll be joined by our special guest, Clay Richards. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, now we got through. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you for that. For those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, we couldn't do this program without the support of our sponsors. And as I said at the start of the show, Melissa, one of the things that the struggle to do this show and to keep it on air has been so hard over the years, and Melissa was always so very keen for us to keep going, and she was just absolutely thrilled late in the day earlier this season when the people from the Motorsport fan zone at Crown came on board, Troy and the Shembry family. And of course, Nick Shembry. Nick was in action at Tailem Bend on the weekend at the new Bend circuit, preparing for his campaign to race at the British Superkart Grand Prix, and was very successful. Had a fabulous weekend again. And Nick will be coming on the show either next week or the week after. Also, very talented family. His younger sister, Bianca, she'll be coming onto the program as well to be our musical guest coming up as well. So there you go. So it's a very talented family. But to the Shembry family, thank you for your support of In Pit Lane, for allowing us to come back for this season. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to get behind Nick, and if you've got a local company and you sell into the into the UK or to Europe or anywhere in the world, just contact Nicola Shembry via the Facebook page there, and you can be on his kart at, I think it's at Donington at the British Superkart Grand Prix. But we'll find out more about that next week on the program. Okay, so thank you to that. Now, I think we're, Pete, are we ready? We'll find out.
We're ready to come back in 15 seconds.
Okay, we're coming back in 15 seconds.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane here on Channel 31, right across Melbourne and Geelong. With me, Craig Doc Gladigo. We'll find out about where Doc came from later. We'll find out there, but perhaps we won't. But he's going to join me as we speak to our special guest tonight. Of course, one thing that we've done over the years of In Pit Lane is you can tell how long we've been around and how old I am by the fact that we've been lucky enough to sort of talk to a number of 3 generations of racing dynasty. We've had 3 generations of Davison, 3 generations of Brabham. Now we have 3 generations of Richards. Of course, our guest tonight is the son of Steve Richards and the grandson of Jim Richards, and he's just embarked on a career in Formula Ford. And to find out about his journey and his plans for the future, please welcome Clay Richards. Clay, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's talk about it. How long have we know you've been racing in karts for a while, but how many races have you done in Formula Ford?
So all up, I've done 2 races in Formula Ford. I did earlier in about a month ago. I did the second round of the Western Australian Championship at Barbagallo with Fastlane Racing, and obviously did round 2 at Phillip Island as well in Victoria.
Have you found the difference, the transition from karts into Formula Ford? Much of a jump?
Yeah, much of a jump. Yeah, you have to treat it a lot differently from karts. Like karts, you can sort of maybe give them a bit of hip and shoulder with the side pods, but you can't in a Formula Ford. Otherwise, you'll tear a wheel off.
And that's one of the things that like fans of Formula Ford will often tell you is that it does teach you that racecraft, and that you can't be bashing wheels like you do in sprint karts, which is basically almost a body contact sport, isn't it? I mean, at the top level, karts are pretty full on.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like you can't get away with a whole lot in karts, but you can get away with just that little bit. But you can't. But with Formula Ford, you can't do that.
Now, you're not afraid to get on the tools yourself as well, though, too, Clay. You're doing a bit of an apprenticeship, and you've been hanging around a couple of garages. You're in the elite company at a Porsche garage, I believe, at the moment, too, aren't you?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm doing my first year apprenticeship at Porsche Doncaster.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. And previously, I did work experience at a garage in Eltham called Auto Coupe, and they specialise in Porsches as well, but mostly the classic side of Porsches. So you get some old 911s come in, so it's pretty cool.
So you got some pretty toys to play with as well there too.
Yeah.
Does Dad and Granddad let you tinker with any of their toys?
Nah, no way.
Not allowed to touch theirs?
Nah, they don't trust me at all.
Because Jim's got like quite the collection.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
match.
yeah.
He's still got a couple of the BMWs
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. Was it always inevitable? I mean, that you were going to jump into the world of motorsport, or was there ever a time when you might have just picked up a golf club or a tennis racket or something?
Maybe not quite a golf club or a tennis racket, but I've grown up around it. You know, it's been my whole life. So ever since I was young, I've always wanted to drive cars, and you know.
Well, just on that then, of all the times you've been in motorsport with Dad and the rich family that you've got in the history of motorsport, as I'm saying, what's the most memorable moment that inspired you?
Probably Bathurst 2018, because that was the first year I saw Dad win Bathurst.
Yep.
So so that was pretty special to look out for.
Must be very proud as a son of your dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that situation as well, though, too, and you're old enough to appreciate that now. As well,
yeah,
too.
for sure.
With the history of the family, I mean, you're talking about. I mean, Jim is of course a legend. Your dad has won Bathurst, and how much does that put any pressure on you? I mean, do you feel any pressure to sort of live up to the family name?
Oh look, I try and sort of drain out that pressure a little bit. Like there's definitely that small little bit of pressure, but you know, I come into racing because I want to make my mark on the racing world. But so there's definitely a tiny bit of pressure, but it doesn't fuss me.
Who do you emulate? Who's your hero? Who do you look up to in the racing world, other than obviously in the bubble that you're in as well, though too? You must say that guy's pretty cool in the way he goes about business and all the racing he's done over the years. Yeah. Well,
Definitely Daniel Ricciardo. I've watched him. You know, I first started watching Formula One when I started my career in karts, and Daniel's an Aussie, and he did well in Red Bull. So, and the way he goes about, how he goes around the F1 paddock, and he's a standout. He's a standout, and that's what I like about Daniel.
Good stuff.
The thing about Daniel, and I mean, I can say it with your dad, and I mean, don't want to embarrass him, and also your granddad as well. But I mean, in terms of all the success they've had and all that, they've always been the approachable sort of people in the pits. I mean, there's never been any airs and graces and all that. So is that something like a sort of something that they've imposed on you, or that it's you got to keep your feet on the ground and don't get too far ahead of yourself? Yeah,
for sure. Dad's always said to me, you got to make good contacts, because even if it's just small little contacts, like if you bump into someone, for example, at my work at Porsche, so it's
lots of rich clients.
Oh well, yeah, exactly, yeah, but you just make make small contacts with people, and you never know. Like one day, it could be a future sponsor. You never know. So
just going back to your Formula Ford now, I noticed when you were in karting, you had a sort of a teal colour scheme that you were running back then. Was that your choice? That was you had a say in the graphics and what you wanted to a certain extent back then, and you're going to take that forward with your Formula Fords. I noticed some sort of turquoise colour on it as well too on the weekend. Yeah. So we ran that turquoise colour. That colour is what was called a Formula K kart. Yep. So when I was racing karts, we ran out of a team called Pro Karting, and they manufacture in what was called Formula K karts. Yep. But and they had their own sticker kit, like they were their own kart. But definitely down the line, I'd definitely like to create a livery on the Formula Ford for sure.
So what's the plans for the future? I mean, obviously Formula Ford is sort of the first step, I suppose. Well, karts is the first step. This is the second step. What are the plans now? Are you taking it sort of as it comes, or do you have a real sort of ambition to get somewhere, and where is that place?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to. I'd definitely love to go into supercars one day if it happens, but if I get the opportunity to race overseas, I'd snatch that up in a hurry.
Will supercars be around by the time you're ready?
Well, yeah, hopefully. We never know.
What about TCR?
Could be electric. Could be electric
Yeah,
cars
well,
by the time you
that's
get
your
there.
Formula E. I mean, but TCR
yeah.
starting up in there. Is that something that excites you at all as a
Oh
young
yeah,
guy?
yeah. It's definitely an exciting new category. Like it's touring car based, and I love touring cars. I love that side of it, and but it's definitely if it goes the right path, it's definitely got a bright future.
Now, Carl, I've got one last question from me before you finish up. Your favourite track in Australia and all the tracks you've raced around everywhere?
Phillip Island.
You love
by a
Phillip
mile.
Island?
Yeah, it's such a fast track, and it really gets your heart pumping.
And you're in the warmest place because you're actually in a car behind the wheel somewhere.
Well,
With all of us who are standing outside taking photos of you, I mean, we're freezing our ass off.
exactly.
Hey, listen, stay with us while we go to a break. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching In Pit Lane here on Channel 13. We're down to camera 5. There we're down to camera 3. Yes, well, there's 2 lucky numbers. There you go. I'll take a Tesla ticket now. Now, we're taking a break on Channel 31. We will be back in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back and we'll have some music with Girl Friday. Okay, if we can, Tracy, and we can head up to the... Actually, we can head up to there for your song during the break. And we're doing... this is In My Head, I believe. This is the song In My Head. I'll tell you about where you can see Tracy and Ashley and her band a little bit later on when we go to the Channel 31 song. But right now, once the guys get set, in fact, I'll tell you now while they're setting up. You can see Girl Friday, accompanied by Ashley Jones, this Saturday, the 11th of May at 5 p.m. at the Fitzroy Pinnacle. And you can catch up with her on social media. Just search for Tracy Girl Friday on Facebook and Instagram. But right now, if we're ready to go, she's singing In My Head. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Girl Friday.
See the trouble, I didn't feel the pain of thoughtless intention. No, I won't do the same again, and I just can't sleep, been thinking about what you said. Cause I'm sorry, oh so sorry, but I'm scared the tears won't dry. No, I just can't sleep.
Thank you, Tracy. That's Girl Friday and In My Head. Now, before we go back to Channel 31, just another thank you in terms of our sponsorship for our friends at the under 2 litre Sports Sedan Club of Victoria. We saw them in action at Phillip Island on the weekend. Their next round will be at Phillip Island at the Access, the Endurance Access meeting that's coming up. I think it's next month, or I think it's next month anyway. And we'll give you more details about that as we get closer to that date. We've got about 3 episodes of this show to 3 episodes of this series to go. We're still looking for a major sponsor in the hope of coming back. As I said, this is this is an important part of my life, and we really would like to come back for a second series if we can. Certainly 31 and RMITV are very supportive and would like us to come back, but we can't do it without sponsorship. It's like anything to do with motor racing. It does rely on cubic money. So if you would like to talk to us about sponsorship, send us an email at advertise@inpitlane.com, and it's far more affordable than you would think. Advertise@inpitlane.com. We're scheduled to come back in September. Also, over the break, we will be doing some stuff. We're not going away completely. We're just off of Channel 31, but there will be some stuff happening. Currently in the middle of making some modifications at the house and doing stuff for live streams, and hopefully we'll do some live streaming from some events as well, like we do out at Calder Park for the drag racing. So that's coming up over the next few months here on In Pit Lane. We'll also do our annual Le Mans preview as well. I'm sure we'll be doing that as well. Anyway, we're just about ready to go back, but obviously you want to know what's happening this weekend. To be honest with you, I'm going to tell you it's not much, but anyway, to find out what is happening, thanks to our sponsors and the Motoring Diary, let's find out what's happening. Take it away.
What's on in Motorsport, brought to you by the Motoring Diary, your must-have guide for all motoring enthusiasts. A quiet weekend in local motorsport. The Historic Rally Association presents the Rich River Revival this Saturday, May the 11th. The event is centred around the township of Kahuna at the Kahuna Memorial Hall. This will be the location of the start, finish and rally headquarters. There'll also be competitive stages in the Kundrook Forest area. And closer to home, the Melbourne Showgrounds is the site for Motor X19, a custom car and bike show featuring a large trade show area as well as a number of driving events. It's on Saturday and Sunday.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane, where I've got Doc Gladego alongside me. I've also got on the other side, we've got Clayton and Richards. And Clay, next round, where do you head to next?
Yeah, so next round will be at round 3 of the Victorian State Series at Winton. So, yep.
Well, good luck with that. Hopefully we'll see you up there. Thanks for coming in tonight. Bit of a chaotic night, and thank you for coming in as well. And good luck with your future career. And we'll follow it very keenly. We had your old man on in his Formula Ford days.
Yeah.
And we had there. I found just recently. I think I might have told you on the weekend. We found just recently a young 14-year-old kid called Mark Winterbottom, so he did fairly well. He went on and did quite well. So
Codename Frosty now, I think it is.
Yeah, that's it. He's done very well for himself, the boy, as ever a lot
sort
of them.
out, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of the things. I mean, it's one of the joys of doing the shows. You get people in when they're sort of at the start of their career, and you can say later on, Mark Webber was on the show, and before he ever made Formula One. Same with Danny Rick. Dan was on the program when Melissa and I were at Macau. We caught up with Danny.
Oh, right. So it's a good omen, Clay.
It's a good pedigree.
All these people have come
it is a good omen.
have gone on to make bigger and better things. So you've got the lucky rabbit's foot with you now.
That's it, and that's appropriate. Lucky rabbit's foot is very appropriate. Doc, thank you for all your help to help
No,
take the stress off, and
you're welcome. We spent the weekend at Phillip Island doing some really great entertaining motorsport, and got to meet Clay and the rest of the Richards family.
It was basically back to almost back to the good old days of the Victorian State Series. Good fields, and it was
and some great fields in all categories: the XLs, the HQs, and the Mustangs and 2 litres. So especially the 2 litres, some really close racing there. So it was great fun, and thank you for bringing me a part of the program tonight. I really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We'll catch up with Doc over the next few weeks as well. As we said, it's certainly not a regular show tonight. I just want to say to all of these people around me, thank you for your support in trying to drag me through. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of people come in tonight who haven't been into the studio for a long time, and I really do appreciate their help. To Jeff, Melissa's husband, we've been united bizarrely through our love for Melissa. Now we're united in our grief, but we will fight on, because that's what Melissa would have wanted. Melissa loved, one of the things we shared was a love of music, and I think it's appropriate tonight. We're going to go out, of course, with some live music, and playing us out tonight is Girl Friday. You can see her on Saturday, the 11th of May at 5 p.m. at the Fitzroy Pinnacle, and you can catch up with her on Facebook, Tracy Girl Friday, and also on Instagram at the same spot. But tonight she's going to take us out at the end of the program. Thank you once again, everybody. I'm not sure what the next week, I don't know whether I'm here or not, but there will be an in-pit lane next week, and then certainly after that. So from all of us here tonight, thank you once again to everybody who's given us a great deal of support. And now, here to take us out, Girl Friday. Bye-bye.
I'm falling for you, and I hope that pretty soon it won't all fall through. There might be a chance, and I know it's pretty crazy, but I'll take it on romance. We might be wasting our time, but I'd rather waste it with you than just have you on my mind. I know that nothing's clear, but I'd rather have you near, 'cause then you might be falling for me too. We might be wasting our time, but I'd rather waste it with you than just have you on my mind. I know that nothing's clear, but I'd rather have you near, 'cause then you might be falling for me too. Oh, 'cause then you might be